Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog, which was actually supposed to be yesterday's vlog, but as often happens, something came up at the last minute that caused me to put the planned vlog on the back burner to talk about something else. Yesterday, it was an article in the Federalist reminding us that when Trump entered office, there were questions. They weren't questions, let's be honest, they were attacks by our friends on the left on Donald Trump's mental fitness for office. He voluntarily took a cognition test to put the questions aside, got a perfect score. Now there are questions being raised, and they are questions, not attacks, because you've seen them in action. There are so many YouTube videos of Biden making mental missteps that are more than just gaffes, not just for the frequency, but for instance, not knowing what office you're even running for. It's been happening repeatedly. So this article suggested that Biden should take the cognitive tests that Trump took. That was yesterday's vlog. I would urge everybody to watch it, and in fact to watch all of my vlogs. The ones in the past, this one now. Well, you are watching this one now, obviously, but watch all of it and the vlogs to come in the future. Now, today's topic that was supposed to be yesterday, it's about comments on Donald Trump's performance, things he said and done regarding the Chinese virus. I want to start with, I'm not going to put up a headline. It was today, there was a morning briefing. Oh, and let me urge everybody, if you want to keep up on what's going on with coronavirus, with what the federal government is doing, and state governments too, Trump has been holding daily press briefings. He has been at almost all of them, but Vice President Pence is at all of them, plus they have medical professionals and other government officials involved in fighting this epidemic and treating the epidemic, many other related subjects. They usually occur around 10:30 to 11 o'clock in the morning, the last few times anyhow, or that's when they're scheduled. They can be 15-20 minutes late. But I urge everybody to watch them and stay informed. If you can't watch them when they're happening, you can replay them on YouTube. She asked about how Trump feels or what Trump thinks about the media siding with China, absolving China, for instance, of responsibility for this coronavirus, for not acting in time, for suppressing the information, for the press not calling China out on that, not focusing on that, but focusing on Trump using the term China virus and ignoring what I think is a good response. How good? Good enough that even liberals have been praising him, but not certain people, apparently. That's what I want to talk about today, starting with a prime example of these never-Trumpers who I've mentioned in the past. Their unhinged, unreasoned attacks on Trump, no matter what he does. I can understand it from liberals, but from people who call themselves conservatives, especially at a time like this, I can see the attacks on his behavior, on the tweeting. I can't understand attacks on his policies, number one, except possibly trade. And I don't understand these attacks on him regarding his handling of coronavirus, and I especially don't understand picking up the baton from our left-wing friends in the left-wing press and criticizing Trump for using the term Chinese virus. I'll show you a prime example right now. Two tweets from David Frum, who is a prominent never-Trumper. Here is a tweet from the 17th, so just from a couple of days ago. Nobody calls the 1919-1920 pandemic the Spanish flu anymore, and not because we are soft on the Inquisition. It's just not a useful way to name a disease. Now compare what David Frum tweeted just a couple of days ago, and this is a prime example of how never-Trumpers, and Jennifer Rubin of the Washington Post is a prime example of this, how they change views that they held in the past, that they say one thing now that is completely the opposite of what they said in the past, because what they said in the past echoes something that Trump is saying. Because Trump says it, they change their position. So we have what David Frum says. Nobody calls the 1919-1920 pandemic the Spanish flu anymore, etc., etc. But look at 2016. He's eulogizing an artist. He doesn't name the artist, so I'm not going to take a guess of whom he's speaking about, but a great artist. War debilitated, he fell victim to Spanish flu, not yet 30. So you see, David Frum himself used the term Spanish flu. I don't think he considered himself racist. I am reasonably confident that no present-day never-Trumper called David Frum a racist in 2016 for using the term Spanish flu. Now, contrast this next story with what I just told you and showed you about David Frum. This is somebody who calls himself a conservative. This is from a liberal, not just a liberal, but a liberal station that is wall-to-wall, morning to night, criticism of Donald Trump. I speak, of course, of CNN. And before I read the story, if you've ever wanted to go ice skating in hell, this is the time to make your reservation, because hell must have frozen over. Look at this headline. Wow, which is my reaction. Wow, stunned CNN offers rare praise for Trump's leadership after coronavirus presser. This is the press conference I was talking about. This is the one that he's doing every morning that, again, I urge you to watch. That's why I keep mentioning it. Well, this is not something you see very often or hardly ever on the rabidly anti-Trump network CNN. After President Trump and his coronavirus task force team fielded questions from reporters Tuesday over what his administration was doing to combat the coronavirus, CNN's Dana Bash and her liberal peers seemed amazed in its aftermath and actually found some positive things to say about the president. Shortly after the press conference finished, Inside Politics host John King, chief medical correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and chief White House correspondent John Harwood seemed stunned by what Trump had to say and the measures the government was taking to help protect people. King even managed to offer this tepid compliment. Quote, "That was a president who seemed much more up on the brief today than he has been in the past," unquote, he said, adding, quote, "For most of that briefing, the president went out of his way to be more gracious and magnanimous," unquote. But CNN's chief political correspondent, Dana Bash, went beyond her colleagues' reluctant compliments to offer unfettered, rare praise for Trump's leadership. If you look at the big picture, and this is Dana Bash talking now, direct quote from Dana Bash. If you look at the big picture, this was remarkable from the President of the United States. This is a nonpartisan. This is an important thing to note and applaud from an American standpoint, from a human standpoint. He's being the kind of leader that people need, at least in tone, today and yesterday. In tone that people need and want and yearn for in times of crisis and uncertainty. Congratulations, Dana Bash, for noticing what so many of us have noticed for the past 3 years. Now, I just want to jump back, make a comment, and this will be my last comment. I want to comment on what John Harwood said. Quote, "For most of that briefing, the president went out of his way to be more gracious and magnanimous," unquote. I want to explain to Mr. Harwood and the rest of the crew at CNN why he was more gracious and magnanimous. It was because for the first time that I can remember offhand, and there were still a few scattered exceptions in these last few briefings, the last few days, but for the most part, the press, for the first time as long as I can remember, has been gracious and magnanimous. They have been polite, they have asked substantive questions, they have allowed the president to answer, they have not peppered him with these stupid gotcha questions. If you want the president to be gracious and magnanimous going forward, the solution is very simple. Be gracious and magnanimous, and I would add respectful to him. That's it for today. Thanks for stopping by as always, and as usual, thumbs up if you like this video. Share it with anybody you think would also like the video. There is a comment section below the video, thoughtfully provided by the YouTube people, where you can put comments. You can also put in that same section any questions you might have, suggestions for future topics. I would love to get more subscribers, so subscribe, 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 and finally come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again, and until I do see all of you again, bye.